Soon we will witness the story of the Titanic and the process of its sinking. We will see the moment of impact from inside the ship, examine real images of the iceberg that caused the disaster and the marks it left behind, and then learn through an experiment what happened to the people who fell into the water. We will follow the truth step by step.
Phillips is under a tight deadline and has only a 2-hour window to send every passenger message while
The sound you hear belongs to a distress call sent from the Titanic. Help messages were being transmitted to nearby ships using telegraph and Morse signals. The ship was slowly beginning to sink. At the telegraph station was a 25-year-old operator named Jack Phillips, who did not leave his post until the communication room was flooded. He acted heroically until the very end, but nothing he did could change the outcome. The Titanic would only be discovered 73 years after it sank, and everything would begin with the discovery of the wreck. Everything began many years ago. In 1912, newspapers announced in large headlines that the Titanic would make its first voyage, along with images of the ship and ticket prices. The story of the Titanic was actually born from a challenge. Transatlantic passenger trade was highly profitable and competitive, transporting wealthy travelers and migrants. Major ship companies were competing with each other. One company decided to build enormous ships to cross the Atlantic and break records, not by speed, but by luxury and comfort. In 1908, they formed a massive workforce, mostly Irish laborers, to build the largest and most comfortable passenger ships ever designed. Their idea was simple, maybe not the fastest, but who wants to cross an ocean feeling sick the whole time? Their goal was to dominate Atlantic crossings within 5 years. On April 10th, 1912, the Titanic departed for its first voyage toward New York. Ice warnings were reported along the route, but such warnings were common in the Atlantic and often not taken seriously. Later that night, other ships reported large icebergs nearby. Some warnings reached the radio room but were not immediately passed to the captain because operators were busy sending private messages for first-class passengers. Near midnight, lookouts spotted a dark shape ahead. It was an iceberg. A warning bell was rung and the bridge was called. A hard turn order was given, but the massive ship could not change direction quickly enough. Just seconds later, the ship struck the iceberg. The hull was damaged across multiple sections, and water began flooding in rapidly. Engineers confirmed the ship could not survive the damage. Evacuation preparations began, with women and children first. Distress signals were sent using Morse code to nearby ships. Operators could reach vessels within a 400-mile range. The closest ship did not respond at first. Eventually, another ship answered and began heading toward Titanic, but it would take about 4 hours to arrive, and Titanic had far less time left. Meanwhile, emergency rockets were fired into the sky, but another nearby ship's captain misunderstood the signals and did not react quickly enough. As the bow filled with water, the stern began to rise into the air. Panic spread across the ship. Lifeboats were launched, but many were not filled to capacity. Within hours, the ship disappeared beneath the surface. Some rescue ships arrived later and saved the survivors they could find. Iceberg damage marks were later photographed, clearly showing the scrape path. Experts later studied why so many people died in the water. Survival specialists recreated the water temperature conditions. When a volunteer entered cold water, body heat dropped rapidly, muscles weakened, and control was lost. Severe shivering began within minutes. Tests showed that strength and hand coordination decreased dramatically. Most people in the water likely died from cold shock and hypothermia within a short time. Investigations showed that the ship did not split open from a direct hit, but from scraping along the iceberg. Rivets along the hull popped out under stress, opening multiple seams. If the ship had hit at a different angle, it might not have sunk. Weather conditions that night, calm sea, no moon, and visual distortion, made the iceberg harder to see. Further technical investigations focused on whether poor materials were used in the ship. Early steel technology sometimes had weaknesses, but laboratory tests showed the hull materials and rivets were generally strong. The real problem was not a single impact, it was the long, scraping contact with the iceberg that forced multiple rivets to pop out one by one, opening a long damaged section along the hull. Scientists also examined the unusual visual conditions that night. The sea was extremely calm. There was no moonlight, and atmospheric distortion may have acted like a lens, sharpening distant stars but blurring objects at sea level. Because of this effect, the iceberg may only have become visible when it was already dangerously close. Some people claim binoculars could have prevented the disaster, but experts say binoculars are mainly used to examine something already spotted by the naked eye. Even with binoculars, detection might not have happened much earlier under those night conditions. A powerful ocean current regularly carries icebergs from Greenland down toward North America each year. The iceberg involved in the disaster had broken away many months earlier and drifted across the ocean before crossing the ship's path at exactly the wrong time. By sunrise, the scale of the tragedy became clear. Families were separated, many children lost parents, and many parents lost children. Survivors described the night as something impossible to forget. It was not only a maritime disaster, but also a deeply human tragedy. Don't forget to take your place for the second part. If you want to support the video, you can like it and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a couple of seconds and helps a lot.